Hi guys, it's Sherry. So today we will be creating this piece together and I'm going to show you step by step how to do this. And as you can see, it's a beautiful little mushroom with a adorable little snail on top, and I added a gemstone to the snail. I think this is a fun piece and I would love for you to come create this piece with me. So let's get started on that. Alright guys, so to start out with this project, the first thing you need is your Primo clay, and I chose white, and you're going to want to condition your clay. So to condition it, you're just going to play around with it until it's nice and soft and pliable, and this way you know that once your clay is completely conditioned, then if you drop your piece, it's more unlikely not to break. And when you bake it, it's more unlikely not to crack. So conditioning your clay is very important. So make sure that you do that before you do anything else. So I made sure that mine is conditioned. And what I'm going to do is just kind of want to roll it out a bit. And I want to get a nice long piece. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it long enough to stick my metal wire in. So I got a metal wire and I cut it, I would, if I had to guess, maybe like 2 inches. And I'm just going to stick it right in the middle here. And then I'm just going to take most of this away. And I am going to make sure my piece is straight here for now. I will bend it later, but I don't want it poking through the clay right now. So there we go. And then I'm just going to take my clay and just kind of go around it a bit. All right. And you're going to kind of roll it. And now I want to roll it and just get it nice and smooth. And I'm going to keep one side fatter. So this side will be fatter, and then I'm just going to go down so that side gets skinnier. And you can feel where the wire is in here. So roll it. There you go. So now I have about that much sticking out. I'm going to make this a little bit more smooth. And I'm actually going to push this up just a tad bit. There we go. And I'm going to roll it out a little bit more. And I'm going to keep that sticking out for the time being. Let's make that a little more skinny. And you'll see as you're doing it, the clay will go right back over the wire. And I want to cut this one more time, and I definitely want wire sticking out on this end. Okay. And I'm going to bend my piece up just a tad bit. So I kind of want it on like a little slope. This side, I just feel like it's going to pull that just a tad bit because it's not, there we go. It wasn't as skinny and it was kind of getting wide inside, and I want this to be a little bit tight. Okay, so now my next step is going to be to make the mushroom top. So I'm going to make a ball. And then I'm going to start kind of just playing with it and making almost like a bowl. So as you see, oops, the inside is staying just basically flat with just a little indent. And then I'm pulling out and keeping my outer edges thinner. Okay, now I just want to see, I stick this right in the middle, and then I can see if that's big enough or if I want it bigger. And I'm actually going to make this a little shorter. So I really kind of want to just, I'm going to get rid of some of this clay here again. And then I'm going to just pull this up a bit. And all I'm doing is pressing this together because I want to make sure that my clay is as close to the wire, because as you're rolling it, the clay kind of goes away from the wire, and I want it to be really close. So that's more what I'm looking for, but I want to make sure, once again, that I'm bending it exactly how I want it. So that's how I want it. All right, so my next step is to make my lines. So there's a few options. You could use one of these tools that has like the hard metal brushes on them, or bristles, or you could use one of these. You could really use the back of one of these. Anything that will give you lines. I personally like this one the best. So I like to lay mine down on my table and just start drawing lines down. And they don't have to be perfect because a mushroom's not perfect. So you just keep going around until you get the desired look of inside a mushroom that you like. I'm going to take my metal one and I'm just going to do the edges and make it a little rough on the edges. I think it gives it a little bit more of a natural look. Go on the inner part too. Let's get that a little messy. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, that is probably really loud. So then my next step is I'm going to get my oven baked clay adhesive, and I'm just going to put a little bit right in the middle. And then I'm going to place my piece right back in there. And then I'm going to make sure that I can put my mushroom exactly the way that I want my top to go. So I like to kind of tilt some of it up, some of it down. I'm going to get my little brush and I'm just going to kind of spread it out a bit so it's not all clumpy there. Okay, I'm going to set that off to the side for the time. And then now I'm going to work on my snail. So a snail is pretty easy to make. First you got to decide what size you want it to be. So I'm going to first kind of just guess and see what I want. I think that's going to be a little big, so I'm going to pull that in half. Then I'm going to make almost like a cone initially. And what I make, my little guy kind of and I'm thinking that should be a cute little size. So let's start with that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, the shell. And I want to actually add a gemstone on the shell. So normally I would take my clay and I would roll it up like that right away. But this time I want to kind of see first what size I'm going to need for my snail. And I'm thinking that should work. So I'm going to first just get a very flat piece of clay. I'm going to put my stone on it. And then I'm going to cut around my stone. Take this clay off. Okay. So I've got a very thin layer, and I'm just going to take this and kind of wrap it up and around my stone. Okay, so once I put my thin layer on, I'm going to clean up my edges. I still want to leave some up on the side, just not a lot. And I don't mind it being on the bottom because that is going to go right here onto my snail. And now I will make a thin snake. All right. Next, I want to just take a very thin layer of glue, and I'm just going to put it over my stone. And I'm going to clean this up then. But I just want to put this right over my stone. Okay. Wipe that off. And now I'm going to take my noodle. I'm going to go right in the middle. Come on. and start going around my stone. And I want to kind of leave a lot of my stones showing. So it's just going to be a small bit. So I kind of want to open this up a bit. Okay, take that off. There we go. Stick that on there. Where's my, here we go. Lift this up very carefully. Just try to, sorry guys if you missed that. There we go. So I'm just pushing this back very carefully. And I'm trying to clean up any glue that's on the stone that I could get off right now. Okay. Now I'm going to, all right, so my next step is I'm going to get another piece of metal, and it's going to be a very small piece. Put another piece of glue here. Push that in carefully. Okay. Decide where you want your snail on here. Push that on. Oops. Okay. So anything that may have moved, readjust, but try not to play around with this too much, because the glue or the adhesive, however you want to, whatever you want to refer to it as, it makes the clay very sticky. So you kind of don't want to play with it too much after it sits there for a while. You just want to kind of bring that down. Just readjusting everything from me touching everything. So I'm just making sure everything is exactly the way I want it. It's hard when you don't have the necklace put together yet. So now I'm just going to mark my mushroom piece up. It's kind of giving it a little bit of dents here. You want to add a little bit more. You could take this, flatten this out, loosen it up a bit. And then you're going to take this and you're just going to make a bunch of little slices all the way through. Okay. Bring it out a bit, and you'll see it stretches a bit. Okay. I'm going to go all the way at the very top. I hope you can see that. All the way at the top. And you're going to push this up on there. And we're just going to cut off the excess. And you can just kind of ruffle that up a bit. And then we're going to kind of lift it up just a tiny bit. Just give it a little bit more of a rough look. You don't want it sticking up too much, but we want to give it a little bit of a lift so it looks more natural. It's okay if some of it comes off. There we go. I just want to kind of get that up in there. Make sure that looks nice and secure. All right, now you could put little dots on the top. You could leave it the way it is. Make sure the bottom is exactly how you want it. Sometimes you might have to go over it again. I am pretty satisfied with all that. I want to make sure the head is up a bit. There we go. Nope, I don't want the head that. There we go. Just like that. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 of these. Wait, right here, sorry. Going to cut that. And then I'm going to, I need a little bit smaller because this is going to get super glued in afterwards. So I want this right at the top. Just like that. And then I want this one right at the bottom. Just like that. Okay. And these will all be super glued in afterwards. So now I'm going to bake this for about 45 minutes at 275 because I got the Primo clay. And then when it's completely baked, cooled off, we'll come back and we will paint it and get it all ready for assembling it. My piece is now completely baked and cooled off. I did a little sanding around the edges here to make sure it was nice and smooth. And you can see it's still a little bit flexible, which is what I wanted. So the first thing I'm going to do is I decided when I paint it, I'm going to use gold and silver. I want to kind of make this look like real metal jewelry. So I'm going to change my little, I think they're called eyelets. So I'm going to change these And to do that, I need to make sure that I have the same size. So I'm just going to measure them up and recut and make my eyelets now silver. So that'll go on the back. Okay. Put those off to the side. I want to make sure they fit before I put any super glue on them. Okay. So I'm just going to take a dab of super glue. There we go. Push that in there. Make sure this one fits. Okay, I'm going to cut that one just a tad bit smaller. There we go. All right, so let that completely dry. Oops. I'm going to start out with silver first. And I'm just going to go over the piece. All right, let that completely dry, which should only take a few minutes. So my next step is now going to be the gold. Okay. I'm going to do underneath gold. All right. So I'm going to let that dry for now, and then I'll do the second coat. Now I'm going to do the back side of the snail. All right, now I'm going to get a smaller brush. I'm going to go around very carefully. And you will probably get some on your stone, and we could clean it up afterwards, but I try not to get too much on, just so it's easier to clean. All right. And my next step is to very carefully, I want to just go in some of these tiny little indents. I'm just going to brush over a tad bit. We're going to do a two-tone here. So I don't want too much here. Just a little bit. Let me do the back side. Oh, see, I got some gold smeared here, so I'm going to have to go over that with silver. Okay. Let that dry a bit. And then we're going to clean it up a little bit. See if I could get this picked up like this. There we go. And I could just go underneath here and pick up those little pieces that I may have missed or that need to be gone over again. All right, I'm going to let that 100% dry, and then we'll clean the last bit of it up. All right, so now my piece is completely dried, and I'm just going to clean it up and put the finishing touches on before I put my chain on. So I want to make sure the inside of my stone is nice and clean. So I'm just going to take my little tool here, get all that old glue off, all the paint. All right, once you're happy with the way your snail is cleaned up, we'll make sure that all our silver and gold look good. And I noticed that earlier I got a little gold on my silver, so I don't want to go in the hole. So I'm actually just going to use my finger, and I'm going to put very little on my finger. I'm just going to kind of go over those areas, and then hopefully that will not go into the holes. It'll just cover up the gold where I did not want it to go. As you're not pressing hard, none of that silver should go into the holes. Okay. Now I'm just going to make sure there's nothing else that needs to be cleaned up. Check your piece carefully. I know I want some silver up here. I'm pretty happy with that. While that is going to finish drying, we're going to put some gloss glaze on that then. But first, what we'll do is we'll just get our chain ready. So with this particular one, I decided just to use a chain that was already put together. So I'm going to cut this. So I'm going to measure this up, put the two hoops together. Let's use this tool, that hoop, and that hoop, and that will tell me exactly where the middle is. Now I'm just going to get my pliers, and right there, that one. Okay. Take off that extra piece. And I got these tiny little jump rings. I'm going to open that up. Put that on. Do the same thing on the other side. There. Okay. Okay, put those off to the side. Let me clean up this space real quick. All right, now I'm going to put my glaze on. Make sure you get the whole thing real nice. This is actually the gloss glaze from Sculpey, and it dries fairly quick. I'm going to take a dry brush and just kind of go in there to get some of that off of my stone. There we go. And then just carefully okay. And my last thing that I want to do is the top. So I'm going to get my pliers. Okay, and once again, I'm going to let this completely dry. And once this is dry, I can put my chain on, and then we are finished. So to dry it, I'm just going to put this on here, and then I'm going to hang this up, and it will hang to dry. This way no fingerprints, nothing will affect the drying process. So our piece is completely dried except for right here, but I'm going to add on my chain. And to do that, just get your chain ready. And we can either open up this way, or we could open up the jump rings, and I'm going to do the jump rings. And then you just slide that on. Reclose, and I want to make sure that it's completely closed so nothing can come off. There we go. All right. And there's our necklace, guys. I think this is just adorable. I hope you guys enjoyed creating this piece with me. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.